Bob Bland, the founder of Teen Missions International. Bob, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I mean, you've come in with a flurry. It's not just you, but all these teenagers out there, the Tabernacle being built. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first of all, this ministry, Teen Missions International, how and when did, was it 1970 you started?
1970s when we first started.
So that's
yes.
what, almost 42 years ago?
Yes.
Wow. Now, you're an old Youth for Christ worker.
Right.
Did you see a gap in youth ministry that wasn't being filled? Is this why you started this?
Well, actually, I was with a Christian Service Corps, which is basically a Christian Peace Corps for a short time, right. And was out representing the Corps and speaking in churches about missions, and there'd be no young people, no teenagers. And of course, I always work with teenagers, and so I thought, boy, if somebody doesn't get the teens involved in missions, there aren't going to be missionaries. And so out of that grew Teen Missions.
Now, you're an 83-year-old youth worker.
Yes.
Which I think is terrific. Now, it's been 42 years. Is there a different climate of ministry these days than there was 40 years ago? And if so, how would you describe it?
Many things are different and many things are the same, you know. Yeah. And of course, when you're in a ministry, it changes. Yeah. And things change. Being involved, we did a lot of projects in Southern Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. And then because of that, we were involved where the AIDS orphans were. 17 million people have died of AIDS in Sub-Saharan Africa. And that's not the bad news. Bad news, they left 13 million AIDS orphans. Yeah. So we felt compelled, as Christians, what are you going to do? Yeah. And so we started AIDS Orphans Rescue Units. And the idea was not to bring the orphans into an orphanage. Time magazine did an article a few years ago, said if you were to build orphanages and that would hold 500 children, you'd have to build 80,000 of them just to hold what's there now. Yeah. So what we do is go out into the bush and set up, and it's kind of taking the orphanage to the orphans rather than bringing them in. And then we try to help them medically. We're not doctors and nurses, don't pretend to be, but you don't have to be to give out malaria medication. And malaria takes 3 times as many AIDS orphans as AIDS does. And then, of course, they die of simple little things like diarrhea, because they have no parents to take care of them. So we try to help them to do things like that.
And if they're HIV positive, of course, their immune system is in disrepair, and so a simple thing like measles or a bad cough can kill them.
Yes, and it takes many of them.
Well, you're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah,
when it comes to,
you understand
I
that.
understand. I've been doing similar work for 12 years in Africa. The ministry that you founded, what do you call it?
Motorcycle Sunday School Mission.
You got a few shots here of guys on bikes, and boy, this brings back a lot of memories, because when I'm in Africa, I see guys on motorcycles all over the place. A lot of North Americans can't believe that's a normal roadway there.
And that's the only way you can get there.
Well, sure. So tell me about this. What do you do here?
Well, the idea was we did all these things to help children, you know, the medical, we try to help get them in school by making uniforms, and we try to help them grow gardens so they can feed themselves. And then I got concerned about their spiritual welfare, and that's more important. Yeah. And so we thought we need a place at each one of these places. We have 39 rescue units operating, and we need to get the gospel out. And of course, a lady gave me the money to build a church. And so we're going to build, well, we're an interdenominational organization. People know us as that, and we have kids from every organization. So it got to be, what kind of church is it going to be? And you can imagine people that didn't even know us, and they're all divided over what is Teen Missions going to do in this church? Who's going to be the pastor, you know? And so we got all these people kind of just watching us. Well, if you picked one of the 10, you got 9 that's saying the wrong thing. So I said, and here they're arguing over what's going to go over the door, and these people don't even know there's a Jesus, you know? So I said, well, we're not going to build a church. We're going to build a Sunday school. Yeah. And Jim, it was one of the things that was of the Lord. I didn't realize it at the time, but there's a number of people in in sub-Saharan Africa who have backgrounds of other religious backgrounds, who if you put the name church over the door, they can't come.
Yeah.
But because it's a school, a Sunday school, Saturday school, Thursday school, they can come. And so we set it up like the old Methodist circuit riders. They have 6 Sunday schools in a week. And the only way you can get there is on a motorcycle. That's why it's a motorcycle Sunday school mission. And we have the literature. A man from here in Canada, and he actually gave us the literature. He was with the Canadian Sunday School mission, and gave us the literature that he had written, copied, gave us a disc, we took them over. So we have the Sunday school literature to reach out and teach these kids.
Well, you know, this is terrific, and we could spend an hour talking about this, but it just is, it represents kind of a comprehensive nature of your work with teen missions. Now, the Tabernacle, and while we're talking about this, we'll throw some pictures up. Why this Tabernacle? How did this idea evolve? We got 5 minutes to talk about it.
Well, of course, when I went to Bible school, we studied the Tabernacle, Arizona Bible Institute in Phoenix, and had a heart for the Tabernacle. And so Howard Vanderpool, who was a classmate, and we decided when we got out we were going to build a tabernacle, and an exact size. And it's amazing because there are some things that are smaller that I thought might be larger, and some things that are larger that I thought might be smaller. But when you see a life-size, when you can walk in a life-size tabernacle, when you can walk in to the Holy of Holies and recognize how important that is, that the veil is gone and now we have free access, it's just such a blessing. And we've had people, Jim, that go into the Holy of Holies, and we ask them to go in and just stand there for a moment and kind of realize what is happening here and come out in tears because the Spirit of God spoke to them. And of course, if you shared the basics of the tabernacle, you've shared the basics of salvation, because everything in the tabernacle speaks of Jesus Christ. It is, I call it the wordless book of the Old Testament, because it shows what Christ is.
Now, when people come to visit it over the next few months, what are they going to encounter? Is it going to be a kind of a functioning tabernacle in the sense of, you know, priests and things going on, or is it just what's going to happen?
Well, they're going to come in and take first of all, a tour. It'll be explained to them by the tour leader beforehand, and then they'll take them through piece by piece and explain to them what each one, how each one represents Jesus Christ. The candelabra, Jesus is the light of the world. The table showbread, I am that bread that came down from heaven, you know. When you go to the brazen altar where the lamb was slain, well, the Lamb of God is slain. And when you go to the laver, we find out about the Bible, the washing the water of the Word. And so it just brings to life all those phrases that we've heard all our life, but don't realize that they are actually based back in the tabernacle.
Have you ever taken the tabernacle to Israel?
We have not taken the tabernacle to Israel.
I wonder what would happen if you did. I think there'd be a huge swell of interest in that. You know, having lived in Israel for 7 years, I don't recall there ever being anything like this there, sponsored by anyone. But there would be a fascination. You know, just an idea.
We brought it to Crossroads.
You brought it to Crossroads.
All the people here can come, and they will be blessed by it. And it'll help them to understand the Bible as they read, especially the Old Testament.
Now, your Teen Missions International is headquartered right next to Cape Kennedy?
Yes.
So you get a front row seat whenever there's been a space shuttle launching?
Every shuttle, we watch about every one.
You're going to be missing that, right?
Oh, we terribly miss the shuttle.
Now, do they have plans to shoot any other missiles into the air?
Oh, yes. They have another rocket that they're preparing, which would be a heavy lift rocket, and hopefully that's going to be going in the near future.
Sounds to me like you've got a pretty rich life.
Well, the Lord's blessed us and given us a life that we can serve Him and be blessed by it. I enjoy serving the Lord.
I can tell. What's your website?
Website is Teen Missions, info@teenmissions.org.
Info@teenmissions.org.
Yes, .org, right.
Well, a lot of you friends who are using your computers, you can just log on and find out more about Bob.
And we got kids going out we have a motorcycle team that's going. We'll train them in Florida, and they'll go out and travel with these kids overseas in Africa and these countries. So
wow,
they can.
Now, are these teenagers also going to be riding motorcycles?
Yes.
Really?
We train them in
Are you
Florida.
serious?
Yeah.
Really?
We train them in Florida, and we have the motorcycles in Zambia ready and waiting for them.
In Zambia?
Yes.
Well, God willing, I'll be in Zambia at the end of the week. Bob Bland, what a guy. Thanks for coming our way, Bob.
Thank you,
And
Jim.
the Tabernacle is going to be
It's been a
here all summer. You won't want to miss it. Back with more right after this.